Last storyteller of the night. Y'all have been amazing. Release 2 in the books. Thank you. All right. Solara? We going for 3. All right. So y'all are wild. You need to start coming up when the number's called then, and we'll go to 30. We'll go to 30. That's not what I said. All right. Solaris is black, queer, and concerned with freedom. They are a Liberian poet and abolitionist educator based in Bed-Stuy. They're the result of a divine experiment to combine the gay son and the thot daughter. This is not even their final form.
And tonight, they'll be closing the show with 2 poems celebrating friendship as a sacred technology for survival. Welcome, Solaris.
Thank you. We fought for this one. We fought for this one today. Okay. We've made it to the end, y'all, together. Well done, well done. I'm gonna be sharing a couple poems that I wrote for and about my niggas, about what they mean to me, or what they meant to me, because not all friendships last, amen? Right? Right. No, for real, I think temporary friendships need to get a little bit more credit. I think the more that I practice extending grace to past versions of myself, the more I have to recognize that those past versions of me had people. You know, there's people that took care of those past versions of me that aren't necessarily in my life in the same way anymore. But they still played a huge part in like getting me to where I am today, you know, and like preparing my spirit for all of the love I would receive beyond those relationships. Right, so shout out to the day ones and the day twos and the ones that ain't make it to today. Right. Okay, so the first poem I'm gonna share is about some work friends, right? Work friends don't like to be called work friends, but I met you at work, and I don't work there no more. But I used to teach 7th grade reading, and if you did not know, nobody party harder than a middle school teacher. Right? Monday, happy hour. Tuesday, happy hour. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, happy hour. Right? We was drinking responsibly, or we was drinking, but it was the love that was created in that space, right? That energy, that joy, that celebration, I think played a huge part in the ways that we're able to show up in the school, to like show our students just like, this is what Black adults do when we love each other. This is how we show up for one another. And that was really, really important. And so this poem is my attempt to just kind of like freeze that moment in time for us. To be Black and alive at all is to constantly be at odds with time, right? So trying to, I guess, dilate or expand that time enough so that we might be able to stay in that joy and that love for as long as possible. All right? My friends and I raise our glasses to magic, to matter, to that ice-chuckled truth. Our drinks meet joy shakes our jaws, and the couple next to us must be new to town or to love how they scowl it all out. Give anything a name these days and it's bound for blood, but Benji promised us the next round. So at least for now, we are jewels hanging from a chandelier, lords of refracted light, a toast to whatever gods brought us here. Nikwe been shaking ass since before the glasses even hit. Baptizes our fists in Henny, that holy brown water, that good blood. Sloppy salute to Dana, who said she was leaving after 2 drinks, but she was lying. Again. And Carter, who don't got nothing but ice left in her cup, but she up here with us anyhow, because friendship is so friendship. It's so family, it lasts. You know what it feels like to not be looking for anything, because everything you need is right here. And nothing else exists enough to kill anyone I love, have love, or could love. There is no noose, no news, no country, no nothing more for my mother to mourn. Just our little cocktail planet tethering each of us to its mast, drunken moons in worship of a new and no longer impossible heaven. Like that first time you saw your uncles two-stepping in the living room talking about some what you know about Howard Johnson. Their faces swirling unrecognizable with laughter, and you realize, like so many things that came too late in life to raise you, that they really love each other. And all of that light spilling from your home and into the streets sugars and slows the night into a lifetime, stains the block sweet, resists every season's attempt to bully the taste from your mouth. So even now, as we raise our glasses to this embarrassment of riches, we recognize the light for what it is: a big bang, a little myth, a shimmering ligament stretching from Brooklyn to Brooklyn, 7 doors leading to the same room where we all talking about the same thing. Genesis of the throat, and therefore the song. Therefore the body and its many blessings. Together we tilt our chins skyward, wet our stupid grins, pour spirit to spirit, give the whole room permission to dance and twirl around us, our faces blurring to browns and golds, each of us indivisible from the light as we spin each other silly, as if we had nowhere to be, as if we had nothing but time. Thank you. So my next and last poem is written after one of my favorite Gwendolyn Brooks poems called To the Young Who Want to Die. If you aren't familiar with it, check it out. It's really, really great. This poem I wrote is just one of the ways that I've found to thank my chosen family for keeping me well, for keeping me alive when being alive felt more like a burden than it did a gift. Thank you to them, wherever y'all, everywhere y'all at. Thank y'all so much for checking on me, for checking for me, for staying curious about who I'm becoming at every stage of this journey. I love y'all so much. I love y'all so much. And I truly believe that our love is the source and fuel for Black power and Black liberation. So not only did you save my life, but you saving the world at the same time. And yeah, this is for them. And to everyone here, I'm gonna step off the stage right after this poem. So thank y'all for listening, and thank y'all for sharing this space with me. My niggas tilt my chin to the sky, and suddenly everything can wait. The gun, the lake, the tall gall in the small seductive vial can wait, can wait. My niggas call my name, and there is no end to me. None worth rushing towards. No heaven worth the sweat of my audition. The world and I have tried to make habit of my undoing. I've forgotten myself in the worst ways. But here come these niggas, making all that noise about the moon, or tomorrow, or the way I am worth every light that touches me. Yeah, I think I could take my time here, where the good has gathered. Each of my niggas a world I want to be reborn into. Oh, sweet sister sons, loves of my one good life. You are the songs I sing to remind me that green is my color. To remind me that I am spring. Thank you.
Thank you, Solaris, for joining us today for the Behind the Release Craft interview. You had 2 incredible poems for release, 2, both of which made Glenn and I cry upon listening
Wept.
to your submission.
My
So
God.
we are gonna try not to get weepy today, but we're so glad that you're joining us for this interview, and we have some burning questions to ask.
Yeah, so happy to be here.
Yes. So jumping right in, Solaris, we're wondering how you identify creatively. Do you consider yourself a writer, a storyteller, a poet, an artist, and why?
Yeah, I think that poet is what I've considered myself for a while, just a manner of like training and schooling and stuff. But when it comes to like all the different ways and all the different languages that I've learned to express myself, it's become clear that I'm a storyteller at heart, that I'm just like, however we're going to tell this story, we're going to tell it. And poetry is the one that I think has challenged me the most. And like the whatever is trying to be spoken from inside of me. It's just like that's the I think my first language for sure. But as I've shared, as I've traveled, as I've met people and learned from others, more languages have been popping up. And I'm trying to listen to it, especially the ones that I'm not very good at or the ones that don't necessarily give me the same amount of acclaim or attention. Have been really, really wonderful. So storyteller is great. I've been doing a lot of traveling recently, and people have called me a griot. So I've been doing some like looking into the power behind that word, and I hope to someday like really feel comfortable just like taking that on of what it means to carry our stories forward.
Absolutely.
What has contributed to a level of comfort you have in claiming storyteller now? Because now I mean, I think you absolutely are a griot. So I'm curious as to how you get to that point of comfort. What does that mean? Is it the amount of stories published? Is it you feeling like, hey, I actually have something to say now? What constitutes comfort for you in this?
And you mentioned even like schooling, right? Did that make you feel like, okay, now I'm a poet because I have the training, you know?
Yeah, I think honestly I think it was going through schooling and realizing how unnecessary it was. I think, yeah, because I went to grad school, I got an MFA in poetry. And while I learned a lot, it was like a really, really beautiful space. A lot of the people that I connected with, mentors that I had there, I was like, I could have hit up any of y'all niggas on Instagram or
100%.
sent you an email and been like, yo, can you send me some books to read? What do you think about this? Just like there are so many generous people out there. And I think that truly and honestly, I feel like I've learned from y'all, even just in the creation of craft and release, of this balance between creating and then releasing it, and specifically that release being a part of the process. And that's something that's I've held very close to me. And I find that a lot of storytellers, a lot of poets, a lot of writers that I really love and respect also work on, they want to share, like they want to give their thing. They want their work to exist within this ecosystem. And I think that as I stepped into that ecosystem with like a spirit of like learning and receiving, the most beautiful spaces in my learning asked me to teach, in my listening asked me to share. And I got more comfortable with my place within the larger ecosystem of storytelling and our stories and histories and our futures. And it just, and then I got tired of denying myself my destiny, I guess, or like trying to avoid language that maybe felt like there was a lot of responsibility that came with it. When I realized that the only real responsibility was my creation, the responsibility was to share my story, to and let those who the story is for come to it, and to share with them and learn from them. And yeah, I think that that's what really got me in touch with that. Definitely, and I want to say specifically, not even publishing. I haven't published a poem or a story or anything since college, maybe. But I also haven't sent anything out. Really, it's specifically removing myself from these like literary institutional spaces and like traditional publishing has given me a lot more space to sit with people in my neighborhood, to talk and share stories with the elders that I've met. And in those spaces, I'm sharing poems. In these spaces, I'm meeting people, I'm chatting. And then they point me to things that are just like, yo, this thing is starting, craft and release. You should definitely come and listen to some stories here. And I can get there and feel inspired and be like, okay, let me share here. And I feel like it's returned me back to my first like entrance into poetry was like open mics. It was really like being in a cafe and like being moved so much that I moved to the stage. And I think that is I was just like, okay, if I'm a part of this ecosystem, I am a storyteller. If I am, and I love it. I love it, and my body loves it, and there's something that my spirit is trying to tell me and trying to share with me through it. And like I said, you can't run from it for too long.
No, you can't.
Yeah, like you said, it's your destiny. That's very real.
Mm-hmm.
It is, and I love the bucking. I know Glenn has some stuff to say about this, Lars, because MFA, like it's like it's the the institutions separating ourselves from needing that validation. I think, and understanding that it's people are honestly more gracious and giving than we even give most of them credit for. I think that is like carrying that with you is the education. Truly.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing I'll say about my MFA program, they taught us the importance of being a literary citizen, which I think is what you're getting at a lot, Solaris, like being just a part of this ecosystem, right? Like we have to engage in other people's work. We show up to the events, we support, we listen, we share, we receive, and we go back and forth. Like we're citizens of this ecosystem collectively.
Yeah, definitely.
I love that.
Yeah,
you have such a...
It's expensive.
It's expensive.
It's really expensive, and
you have such
in
a
like,
distinct voice, Solaris. Oh, I think you might have froze. Oh, okay, here we go. You have such a distinct voice in terms of the story that I mean, not only your delivery but your writing in general. How did you define your voice, and how do you define your voice, and how did you develop it?
Oh, I think that a big part was realizing, I'll start with how it was developed and then we'll get to what it is. I think a big part of it was realizing who my audience was, and realizing specifically that my first audience was me. And that if I could not, okay. there's a long story. I've lived many lives. I'm getting all these flashes in my brain of just like where this begins. But I come from a family of pastors. And I think when I first got into poetry, it really came from that space of like pastoring in that, or I should say preaching. Not so much pastoring, and that's a different story. But in preaching, it's like you're delivering a message to someone else, for someone else. You're telling people, you're bringing something to someone else. And I think when I first got into poetry, I came with that space, in that space of just kind of like, all right, I'm going to share something that the people need to know. What the people need to know, I'm going to give it to them. And I remember specifically there was one poet, again, in this beautiful ecosystem, who sat me aside and was just kind of like, you're really good at this, but the people don't care who you think they should be. We care about who you are. Like, tell us, share about you. And I was just like, ooh, okay. And it got a lot more personal in that. And I stopped trying to speak to people and started allowing the work to speak to myself, allowed myself to sit down on the page and write the thing that was scary for me, to write the thing that was speaking to me, the things that I wanted to hear, the things that I needed to hear. And I think that began to define my voice as I as I got more in touch with the fact that I was my first audience, I also learned I had to learn how to speak gently to myself. I had to learn how to speak with love, and kind of like sharing in that. I'm just like, okay, if I'm going to speak to myself, what type of things do I want to speak to myself in, and how do I want to do it? And as you do that, as I pour that love into myself, I think that a lot of my poetry is about love at the end of the day, and you could argue that all of them are, like every poem, but it's about love, and I think that love overflows, and I think that it overflows, and it meets my people, it meets my friends, it meets my larger community, and things like that. So I think it's made my language very flowery, very flowy, very rich, very colorful, very sound driven. And I think some of that also still comes from this place of just like having this background in pastoring and preaching. I've heard that there's like a Leo to pastor pipeline, which is which is diabolical, but it's like it really feels like that. It really feels like that, of being on stage and realizing, and also, of course, we talking about the Black church here. So the pastors that I knew, the preachers that I knew, they was up there singing. They really was not just they was not just speaking. It's just like the music in their voice is what captured me. Right. There's a reason why so many of us, specifically Black people, specifically Black queer people who have left traditional like religions and left churches and stuff, still fuck with gospel music,
Yeah.
still are just kind of like drawn and held by the music of it, because it's a language that I think really speaks to the soul, that it really speaks to something, something really, really deep and innate inside of us. And that's how when I think of my voice, I think about singing. I think about that music. I think about that sound quality. I think about the warmth in the voice of somebody who truly cares about you, someone who really sees you, and that's at least how I hope my voice comes off. I hope that it makes people cry, but I hope that they feel held in their crying. You know,
Yes.
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 like it's like, come here, we're gonna cry. Come here, we're gonna cry together.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We felt that. I think you've been able to distill everything that your experience down to the definition of your voice, because you feel, I don't know, there's forgiveness baked in to
Yeah.
how you're speaking.
And
There
so much
is.
Yeah,
love.
and yeah, what a journey. And I'm sure y'all can attest to this as writers as well, of that work of learning to love and forgive yourself. I'm so happy to hear that it's reflected in my work, that it's reflected in my writing, because it's definitely started to reflect in my life in ways that have been really meaningful to me. So it's like, what else could the work do but speak from the expansiveness of my heart? As my capacity for love grows, so does my skill.
Yes.
Ooh.
Solaris, what do you think is the anatomy of a good story?
I would love to
The
know.
anatomy of a good story. Okay, I say, one. Ooh, it depends what type of story you're telling. I've been watching a lot of movies recently, and I've honestly been really bored with other people's stories. So this is a good question, because I'm like, why? What is it? What is it that's boring me? And I think, hmm, I'm going to start answering, and then we'll find out if I believe what I'm saying at the end. Okay. So I think I love a good story has stakes. Um, a good
Yes.
story, a good story risks something, and it's like it's the risk that you take to be free, right? It's like, what are you willing to put on the line? What are you willing to sacrifice to in order to free yourself, to love yourself, to forgive yourself? And I think that a really good story makes you feel like, oh, something is at stake here. You know, there is there is a risk that the writer is taking by sharing this work. And this can be, and when I say that, I don't want it to sound like, okay, your story's got to be intense and we got to be scared and we got to be, like, we got to be rough in that way. But I think about the stories that I want to tell in which there is no conflict, the stories that I want to tell in which there's like not everything goes right, and nothing goes wrong. And it's just like, what do we risk in telling those stories specifically for Black, queer, and trans people? What does it look like to create a world in which everything goes right? It troubles the world. It troubles the reality of things, you know? And I think that it's a risk in itself, to be so bold, to be so brave as to say, like, I refuse suffering. I refuse the pain. I refuse the darkness. I refuse all of the things that the world has told me must be a part of my existence. And I get to choose. And there's that risk in choosing. There's that risk in and doing that. I'm preaching again, but the so I think stakes are what make me like a story, I should say. First, a good one. I think also a story that is it's gotta be so I want to say accessible. And when I say accessible, specifically, I think of access in the way of like pathways, in the way that a building is more accessible if it has an elevator. It is more accessible if it has a ramp as well as stairs, right? Because there are multiple pathways to get in regardless of your ability. There are different ways and there are different doors. And I think a good story has many doors. A good story has many rooms, or it has one just really fantastic room that takes shapes and moves and evolves. And those are actually some of my favorite stories. If you can get me in one, if we could stay in one room in one scene, and I feel like I've lived 100 lives, that's a good story. That's a really good story. And it actually is something that I really tried to channel in my poem about my friends, of just like, how do I stretch a moment, a specific moment? And I think a really good story offers different spaces. So maybe that for some people that might be around the senses, right? They're just like, okay, there's different senses that are in here. It's colorful, but it's not just colorful in sight. It's not just colorful in language, but it's colorful in sound. It's colorful in texture. It's colorful in experience or metaphor or whatever it might be. So I think multiple different pathways in it, so that niggas feel something regardless of where they're coming from, you know? And if they feel it, they know it. Like specifically, it was really teaching 7th grade reading and bringing poems that I loved, that I was like, this is amazing poetry. And to watch them look at me like I was crazy, they're just kind of like, what is this? It's giving me nothing. Right. But then to see them specifically, one, realize. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that the way that we're told to teach poetry and to engage with poetry as well in general, and stories in general, is what does this mean? And I think that's a terrible first question. And I think the first question should also be, what is this? What do you feel? Like, how does it make you feel? What is being broken? And I think a good story makes you feel something. And a better story moves you in that feeling. I think it dislodges something we have. We walk through the world with our shit just kind of like as organized as we can make it be. Everybody going through it, so some people like, hey, it's not always as organized as we would like. But a good story dislodges something. It shakes something up, or it makes you reimagine the organization of your mind and your life and the way that you move through the world. And it's transforming. It's traumatizing in the best way, in that you are forever different afterwards.
Ooh,
yeah, you was preaching.
Take notes. Yeah. In the whole interview, I gotta take notes.
Took us to church. And and I loved every bit of it.
I did too.
I believe
literally
everything
gonna
you
listen
said.
back to this.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I just found out. I was just like, oh yeah, right. I actually did fuck what I was saying.
What? The keys to a good story. You just handed them over to everyone listening. So I feel like I like it functions so well in your work. So I'm excited to ask you this question of what is the function of honesty in the stories that you tell?
The function of honesty. I think the function of honesty is the first thing that comes to mind is that Nina Simone quote of just like freedom is no fear. And I think that honesty is a practice in honesty can be scary. And I think honesty is a way of like living without fear. And I think that the function of that in the work gets back to what I was saying. It's just like it does not turn away from the scary thing, but it turns towards it, right? It doesn't, because that's where the heat is, right? That's where the fire. It's like the things that kind of like make you cringe, the things that maybe are scary to approach, are often the places that you need to go. And that's not necessarily to mean to go there without care, to go there without even caution at times, but is to be honest. To be honest in your work is to like give yourself the opportunity to be free. It like really is to give yourself the opportunity to be free, to speak, to say, and I think on a technical level, it allows it. There are so many ways to hide, just in general in life, but in writing as well. There's so many ways to hide in our stories. We put ourselves behind these. We like hide ourselves behind metaphors. We hide ourselves behind language, that because we know to truly be seen, even though that's technically what we say we want, what we truly want. It's really terrifying to be vulnerable, right? To be vulnerable puts you puts you at risk, right? And that, to be honest allows you to make sure that whatever language you are using to express yourself is not being used to like hide you or to like dampen your light, but it's only used to magnify, right? It's only used to interrogate, to get closer. And the closer that we move to that real thing that we're trying to say, I think the more meaningful our work ends up being for people all over the place. Because at the end of the day, everybody's trying to move closer to themselves, even if they don't know it. There's and closer to each other, right? There's like this pull in our existence towards ourselves and towards each other that is really at times irresistible. And but boy, do we try to resist it. we really try to resist it because actually this is shout out to Ayanda. They have I was just watching their YouTube video. They were talking about why we're afraid of success, and specifically because to be in touch, to be honest, is to meet God. And if you were to actually to see God, it would be terrifying, right? It's like, it's lovely. But to encounter God is a scary thing. Like the biblical representation of angels is terrifying, right? And I think when we see God in ourselves, it also scares us. It also can be really scary. And I think that is I think I lost the exact pathway back to the answer to your question, but I'm hoping that it was answered on the way. I don't think I can tie that one up for you.
Yeah, it's tied
Yeah.
up. It's
Oh,
double.
okay.
It's tied up.
Okay, cool.
You have us rethinking our
Yeah,
whole
no.
lives with this
I know
interview.
I'm gagged, actually.
Yes, I am
Yeah,
too. I am
no.
as well.
Ooh, especially that point around being afraid of the God in you. Like that is Ayanda really went off with that. So
Yeah.
shout out to her.
It's like being afraid of your own potential,
Hmm.
or yeah, your own power, and what happens when you recognize that you have it, because then you have a
Yeah,
responsibility to wield it, and then everybody's
right.
looking. Yeah.
Hmm. And especially, I think I think a place that we can often get in trouble with, and this is the issue with like institutions that measure and compare our work, or get us in the space of comparing ourselves to others,
Hmm.
is that when you are truly honest in your work, it may not necessarily be completely legible to everybody. Um,
Exactly. Exactly.
so to speak your truth, for lack of better words, to share your work, to release it, um it must be done so without expectation on other people. The only expectation should be on yourself, and that is that you were honest, um, that you freed something in yourself. And time again, I cannot express how much you like watching someone get free, experiencing someone be honest with themselves moves me to honesty, moves me to freedom. It pulls me, it moves me, it makes me feel something. Um, and and I think that there are like techniques and things that you can learn to like really amplify that voice and amplify that fire. But it's just like some people might not fuck with it,
Yeah.
and it's just like that is not a reflection on the it's not a reflection on the piece necessarily,
No.
Hmm.
right? It's more so a reflection on just like the story that you had to tell was not for them. um, and we have to get a lot more comfortable with perhaps the stories that we have to tell are for no one other than ourselves. And at the end of the day, that never ends up being the case.
Right.
Truly, I think
Never. Never.
it never actually ends up being the case. But to become comfortable with that, of just saying like, all right, I'm going to be honest. Y'all got me thinking, because I'm just like, the function of honesty is it does so much work. I'm
It
just like,
does.
actually, to be honest with yourself in the work is the only way to encounter your voice. It's the
Mm.
only way.
Ooh.
Um, and and I think as we are working to like learn and unlearn to unlearn other people's voices, other people's standards and expectations for ourselves, for our lives. Learning to trust ourselves, to trust that voice. It not only has implications on the page, but it has implications in the ways we move throughout the world. And I think it has implications on like our potential for like revolutionary change in the world as
Yes.
well. Because we're a lot easier to manage, we're a lot easier to control, we're a lot easier to commodify when we do not trust ourselves. When we are going, when we look to other people for answers, it's a lot easier to confuse their dreams with yours. It's a lot easier to take their boundaries around imagination for your own. And that's not living. That's not living. So honesty allows you to live. The honesty allows the poem to live in a way, and it'll work through all the bullshit, all the ways that we try to hide
Hide.
from ourselves. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Hmm.
And like you said, Solaris, there are a million ways to hide.
Mhm.
There are a
Yeah.
million ways to hide. So when you
So many.
encounter a piece or a person who you can tell is honest with themselves, is
Mhm.
honest in their work, regardless of how it's received, it is permission to free
Yeah.
oneself as well.
Yeah.
Truly.
Truly. Truly. Truly. Truly. I'm. Yana took me to church this morning.
You done took us.
I was tired, but I'm so energized right now, because some of my favorite poems also, I think, have a turn, have this point where what you thought was happening isn't all that's happening. Um, and and I think that for some poets use that as a way. They'll start writing, and then they're just kind of like, oh, I'm hiding. Oh, this is not the truest expression, and they'll put in the turn towards the truth in the poem itself, so that the reader can go on a journey. Those are some of my favorite poems. So I'm just like, oh, okay,
Whoa.
like
Yeah.
just
Now we're here.
yeah, it's just
Yes.
now we are here, and there's something about that journey, not simply saying like, okay, it's cool to read poems where it's just like, all right, it's completely honest, we're here just from the get-go. That's great. But I also love poems that it's just like the honesty in the journey, and inviting people into that, of just being like, okay, here's what it's like, here's the mask, and here's me taking it off.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, boo bitch, here we are.
Mm.
And then like
Boo
that,
bitch.
and is and that in itself can be a really, really beautiful. Some of my favorite poems do that work, and I really enjoy that.
Before we go into the burning questions, we have the last craft question, signature craft
Uh-huh.
question for you, Solaris.
Yeah.
What is your practice for
Mm.
right now? Very, very
Yeah.
curious.
I think my practice right now is I wake up every morning, and I move. I move my body. I try not to stay. Uh, I try to unstick myself, as much as I can, whether that's going to the gym, or like doing some yoga, or just like some light stretches, right? And I think from there, it's finding something alive to take care of. Even if some days it's difficult to take care of myself, I got a cat, that need a little love. I need her food. She's gonna be real vocal about it. I have plants that need care, right? And I think also, even my like friends, and my roommate, and my environment. Like, honestly, once you realize that there's so much life in everything, it's just finding a way to like tend to those things. And I think that just kind of like jumpstarts me in regards to like a writing practice. And I will then do like journal, and just see like, okay, what is the things. Morning pages used to be a part of my practice. It hasn't really been recently. But sometimes it's really, really nice to be able to just like just get it all out, whatever it might be,
Yes.
without trying to give it form, without trying to even give it function necessarily, other than to just kind of like release yourself. And meditating, sitting with myself, whether that's in the shower, whether that's during yoga, whether that's just like down in front of my mirror. And I then I read. I read a lot. I read poetry. I just started reading screenplays, honestly, because again, I'm bored of the movies that I'm seeing. So I'm just like, all right, we making movies. So
Yes,
reading screenplays, reading fiction, nonfiction, whatever it is, and then allowing myself to write poems after what I read. Because if I'm reading something that's actually meaningful to me, it's probably sparking something in me, and it's pointing towards something that perhaps I don't have complete form for. But this looks like little notes in the pages, in the margins of the books that I'm reading. And sometimes those notes are poems. Sometimes those notes are just a couple words. Sometimes I end up drawing a picture. Um, Sometimes I just be walking around the house, and some things just make you want to sing. Um, where it's just like a song of your heart in some way. And then I think giving myself space to write, though. Again, because as I'm saying this, I'm just like, okay, my practice really evolves depending on the season, and what it calls for. Because there are some places where I'll like okay, I'll set out a specific amount of time and I'm just like, all right, I'm going to be in front of this page and I'm going to write. There's other times where that feels nuts. To look at a blank page is, I'm like, I've been staring at this for 30 minutes. What did that do for me? What did that? And I was just like, all it did was like give me anxiety.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, I think allowing myself to be inspired by others, allowing myself to actually, I guess it is, to step into this ecosystem of life and living, and to like fully and to be present with it. However, I want to be present and trust that I have something to say. And that I will not run out of things to say. And if there is nothing that's coming to me right now, that's because the world is speaking. That's because my spirit wants to speak in a different way today, and allowing that to be okay. Allowing it to be like, I may not write the poem today, but I may have a great conversation with a friend. And I may not write the poem today, but I may have time with the water, with the sun, with the world. And I cannot think of a poem that I've written that was truly honest, that did not come from one of those spaces, including the ones that I shared at Craft and Release. None of them came from me sitting in front of the page to try and push it out of me. It came from me encountering the world and my spirit speaking and the world speaking back, and me putting that down on the page, and then getting to the place of like crafting it, of releasing it, of sharing it with people. And yeah, so I think that's how to describe my practice right now. Yeah.
I love that. There's so much so much harmony.
Yeah. Yeah.
So much harmony.
We
try. We're all
try. We really try, because honestly, there's so many, and I'm sure y'all are familiar with it. It's just like the voices, the voices of capitalism, the voices of productivity, the voices of comparison, all these things like those. And I think it's really important for people to know that it's not that these voices disappear. Because we have experience with those voices. We remember their voices. They're always there. But it's become a lot easier with practice. It's become a lot easier in building a habit of quieting those voices, or having louder voices, or having, or being able to hear those voices and like recognize, oh, you were here for my survival at some point. You were you were keeping me safe at some point, but baby, we're not in danger in the same way no more. Like, so you actually, you don't have the full picture. You don't have the full picture. The present version of me, do. So I'm going to listen to my own voice right now. I'm going to kind of keep moving and living in the present in a way that, but it's. So definitely in the trying, definitely in the consistent practice of it, because freedom is a habit. Freedom is a habit.
Ooh, put that on a pillow. What? Freedom is a habit. I could go on and on about the voices. I think that's kind of been like a theme that I've been finding in my morning pages of like, I don't know if the both of you have watched Mr. Robot at all.
I remember it.
Yeah, like it's like going back, because I've been revisiting old journals and going back to see who you created to get through something or to move towards something is such a fascinating act. It's such a fascinating, it's so fascinating to revisit those versions, whether you name them something different or not, whether, like, it's like, I'm going through it. I'm like, oh shoot. When I picked up photography, I started, Naked J was what I came up with. That's the person who was different from the individual working at a group home that was going out and shooting. So it's like, how many people have we created? How many of their voices are we still carrying to where, like you said, Solaris, it's okay now. It's okay. Like we have to kind of reassure them. They don't go away, but we can override them, and we can extend them grace in saying like, yeah, we
Yeah.
got this. We now created somebody who is in more harmony with their environment
Mm-hmm.
and what they're doing, and in their relationships, and it's okay. It's okay. You served a function. You did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes
Yeah.
into my first personal burning question for you.
Okay.
And to start, and this is pre the first poem, which I think is an entire film
100%.
in and of itself. To open, you
Oh,
start with,
we right here.
I mean, please,
We right here.
please let us know what you need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To open, you start with a few lines that hit me personally. Not all friendships last. They evolve. They take new shapes. And I think temporary friendships should get a little more credit. You say extending grace to past versions of yourself has allowed you to realize that past versions of yourself were taken care of by people. How has your need to be taken care of in friendships evolved?
I think the I have always and will always like need to be taken care of in my friendships. I think the way that that care looks um, is a lot more. It's a lot more vulnerable. It's a lot more intimate. In that, I think in the past, as you're like working through allowing people to care for you in the first place, right? Is you'll allow them to care for you in one way, in one
Yes.
space, and then and like that feels safe and that feels good, and then you realize are that you contain multitudes and there are many parts of you that need caring for, and I think my need has evolved in that I've been a lot more open with the various parts of me that need to be taken care of, and also recognizing the limitation in some friendships, and allowing that not necessarily to be yeah, there's some space where I'm just like, okay, there are some friendships that care for me in ways that others can't. I don't. I believe what I just said. I think I believe what I just said.
Yes.
Is because I think there is something about the process of needing care and not necessarily receiving it in the ways that you want, that is also a part of friendship. It's also a part of like unlearning each other. It's part of that intimacy and vulnerability to say that you did not, I am not getting what I need. This this relationship isn't necessarily feeding me in the way that I want. And then that gives you space to determine who it is you want to be accountable to and how you want to be accountable to each other. And I think that has, and then that makes so much more space. Yeah, there's like so much conflict that happens in relationship. And I think I'm just far less afraid of conflict. It's something that I'm actually excited about, honestly, at times. Like it doesn't feel good all the times, but I'm just like, oh, this is where things get real. Because it's really easy to be friends when everything is chill and everything is fine and we're gelling real good and all those things. But what happens when I'm not there for you in the way that you need me to be? What happens when I don't understand your needs for some reason, or you don't understand mine for some reason? When there's a misunderstanding, how do we move towards each other in that? And I think my need to be cared for has changed because I have changed and evolved, and I am much more involved in the process of caring. Them caring for me is never just this one-way stream of thing. It really feels like an exchange. It feels like and an exchange that is not not a transaction.
Yes.
It's not a you give me this, I give you this type thing. But in my in your giving, you are being generous with your love. In my receiving, I am being generous with my love. And sometimes that receiving just looks like being present in the receiving, and like being there, and yeah, I think so. I Because I'm just like the same things that I was. I don't know that my needs have changed all that much. Mm, they definitely have, but I don't think that they've changed all that much. I just feel like I've been like a lot more clear and open about my needs, and like and and who and how I want to get those needs met. Who I want those get those needs met by,
Right.
and how I want that relationship to look like. I Yeah, I feel like so much. I feel like I feel just far more responsible for my creation, for my existence. That I get to manifest. I get to ask for what I want, and
Mm.
and in that asking, I I we build trust. We build trust with others. We build trust in ourselves. We build trust with the universe, to provide, to show up in the ways that we need. And yeah, there's I I'm not I know I've been answering your question, but I definitely think it's something that I want to further reflect on, because
Yeah.
I'm like, how have my needs like truly evolved and
Mm-hmm.
changed? Because honestly, I expand. Um,
Yes. Yes.
I expand. Like I said, I contain multitudes. The multitudes continue to multiply on themselves. Um, I like I had friends that were in the past that were really, really integral. Like those moments, those relationships were integral to me recognizing that I had wings, learning how to fly,
Mm-hmm.
remembering how to fly. And I have friendships now that I'm just like, actually, I don't need you to help me build my wings. My wings are here. Right. But I do need
Right.
you to help remind me that my
Right.
wings are here when I forget. I do need to, like, we need to be lifting each other up in specific ways. I have friends now that help me fly even higher than these past friendships could. So I guess that's it. It's the more that I expand, the more that I fly. The that's I'm just like, okay, I require more expansive friendships. I require more
100%.
Absolutely.
expansive and holistic love. And I think I needed like expansive and holistic love, in the past as well. It's just, as I grow and as I swell, I yeah, no, yeah, because I'm trying to think of like, okay, what would it be like to experience the love I'm experiencing now in my friendships back then at that time?
Yeah.
And I don't know that I would have known what to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
I
Honestly.
wouldn't have known. I would have definitely
I would
not
have
known.
um,
rebuffed it
yeah,
probably.
Yeah.
and I don't think I would have. I don't think I would have been a good steward of it at
Yeah.
all.
Exactly. Exactly.
Of that love, and I think it's really speaking to the fact that, there are some blessings that meet you, when you're ready for it.
Yeah.
And I'm so, oh God, yeah, I thank God so many. Like I think about my partner now and the love that we experience in our relationship, and I'm just like, damn, I'm glad you ain't meet me like 2 3 years ago.
Exactly.
I would have fucked this. I would have ran away from this. I would have
Mm.
been impatient. I would have been, so scared. But you met me exactly at a time when, I think I could hold and I could handle it, and where my capacity had expanded to a point where I could show up in a way that was reciprocal, and loving. And now I get to be a good steward. I get to take care of you, and, be taken care of in a way that, I think a past version of me couldn't even imagine. And
Mm.
that's not even a knock on them, because I hope that a year from now I'm experiencing love that I can't even imagine right now.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Solaris, I want to turn to the first piece, that happy hour with
Yeah.
your coworkers.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
also spent many
I love
years
that piece.
teaching, and those happy
Uh-huh.
hours went crazy. They were so
Mhm.
necessary. The Friday happy
Yeah.
hour.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's so
I
necessary.
I wanted to get your thoughts on finding the magic in the mundane and in the
Yeah.
everyday. And then,
Hmm.
in regards to the piece specifically, you said something a little bit earlier about being able to stretch a moment from a
Hmm.
craft perspective, how you're able to do that.
Yeah, for sure. I think one in finding the magic in the mundane, it's I think it's I don't know. I guess I've always been looking for it. I think growing up I had a really difficult childhood that was like shadowed by a lot of just darkness. And in that, I I was so I call it like Princess Diary syndrome. I was like so sure somebody was gonna show up at my door and be like, "Yo, you are the Princess of Genovia." Like this is not. You could not convince me otherwise that I was not meant for something greater than what was around, like than my experience. Like I was in the darkness and it was hard, but even as a child I was just kind of like, it's all gonna be great. Like I was just like, I'm on my way. Like there's something else. This is not all that there is for me. And I'm sure that there are ancestors to thank for that. I'm sure that there's God and universe to thank for those whisperings in my ear at that young of age. But I think that I've always had a practice of like looking at something that didn't quite look great and finding the love and finding the light in it. Or feeling, or at least feeling the warmth of the light in another direction. It's something that I feel like I've always been really sensitive to. So finding magic in the mundane feels like there's just ancient mundane. It is
Mm.
just like it's things, and I think that when things feel mundane, I think those are the moments when I feel the least connected to myself. I know that there's something. It's honestly a sign for me that I'm just like, all right, there's some sort of care that I need here,
Hmm.
to like because the world will again teach you to become insensitive to these things and harden you a lot of ways. So I think the there was not a point, and it's just like, yeah, I'm that annoying friend sometimes that, especially if I'm high, I'm that annoying friend that's just kind of like, yo, everything is
It's like, you
everything.
guys, this is amazing. We're alive.
Right.
Yeah.
We just taught all week and now we're free and we're here together. This is
Right.
like, what a time to be alive, you know? I hear you.
Exactly. And yeah, it's just so, I'm so I feel so blessed to have that sensitivity for real. Because it saved me in a lot of ways, in ways specifically that doesn't, I think a lot of times when people think of this kind of like dreamy world, is that it's distracting from the reality of things. But no, I think that I have a very clear understanding of the distance between our present reality, our material conditions, and the way that the world should be, and the way that the world must be, the freedom that we must be
Hmm.
enjoy and love and abundance that is here. I'm just like, oh, I'm very aware of the ways that our connection to abundance has been obstructed,
Yes.
Yeah.
in some ways, and that pushes me to bridge that gap.
Yeah.
So I do so in my words. I do so in my friendships. I do so in the work, in organizing, and trying to actually pull those futures closer.
Absolutely.
And in regards to like craft element of how you stretch a moment, because again, this poem all takes part in like a clinking of glasses, and then it extrapolates from there. I think one, it's a matter of widening widening the moment, widening each moment with language of saying like, okay, I have this snapshot, this snapshot the glasses have hit. Now let's move the camera. Like there is so much happening that is like from one point of view, one perspective. Yes, the glasses have hit over here, but what is the couple next to us feeling? What is each person in this circle feeling? What does it look like from a top-down view, right? How is this connected to a memory? How do you again widen this single moment? Because I think, and I've been told this, like it's actually been a critique in some things before. They're just kind of like you're saying the same thing over and over again in just a bunch of different ways. Like you can like like bring it down. You can condense it, and this poem in some ways was like bucking up against that idea of just kind of like, yeah, there are so many different ways to say it because there's so many languages for the love that we're experiencing right now. So I'm going to say it in as many ways as possible. And we're going to live here, specifically as Black people. It's just like we don't, like time is the thing that's been stolen from us so much. Like we talk about reparations. I'm just like, how are you going to give us our time back? Like, what is this? Like, what does it look like to reclaim time in that way, to stretch a moment so that we have enough time to feel safe, to be sensitive, to feel soft, to like stay in that joy for as long as possible. Like how do we stall? How do we stall here? And how do we stall in a way that doesn't feel stagnant, but it feels like an extrapolation, like a blooming, right? There's this a term, it's called temporal dilation, which is just like to take a moment and to see all of the moments within that single moment, to know that quantumly, I don't know, some scientists about to be in your comments be like, this nigga don't know what he's talking about. But I was just like, there's like every particle can then be divided and then be divided, then be divided, and then be divided. There are worlds in everything, you know. So in the same way, in the moments, I think that this in that poem, I wanted to take the moment and break it in half and go in and see what's inside, and then break that in half and go in and see what's inside. And I think in that work of like moving closer and closer and closer, things become more honest. Things become it's harder to hide, right? I think that is there's also there's a poem by Ross Gay that was really it's called Two Bikers Embrace on Broad Street. That was really, really inspirational to wanting to do this work of like, and I think it was from him that I learned the power of like just moving perspectives, and just like moving the camera, because while we are having this moment, there is an entire world happening around you beyond the walls that you cannot see, right? So what happens if we pause this moment and we take the camera outside? What is what's happening outside? How is what's happening outside making what's happening inside possible? How is what's happening inside making what's happening outside impossible? How is us in this moment here actually holding together all of Brooklyn? You know, what is what are the implications of our love? And that's just a question that I think you can extrapolate on further and further and further, because that poem doesn't even go as far as it could. It went as far as I needed. But it could keep going. It really, really could.
No, it is very much so everything everywhere all at once, but you know, like just this kaleidoscope of time and space, and it just I don't know, it makes you think about every moment. Like you said, like the you pouring yourself a cup of coffee might be holding together Brooklyn this morning, you know, like it's wild to think of the million trillions of little things that are happening
Yeah.
In a
to
single
keep
action.
one
I
thing
just
together.
I don't know if y'all have seen. There's a video that was being passed around. I don't know what everybody algorithm look like, but the about mycelium, and about the connection between things. Yeah, it's crazy. And I mean, also you just think about trees and mushrooms and like the immense networks that are happening beneath, and it's just like those networks create this one experience. You might find, I think the analogy she said was just like you might find a mushroom in the forest, and you're just like, this is a beautiful mushroom. This is great. There are so many like little knobs and dials and things that had to happen for this mushroom to be here. And it's really, really holding it together, which is really helpful again in thinking about movement work, and it's helpful in thinking about our work as like writers and storytellers while the world is burning around us and it's burning for so many other people. It's just like, what is the it'll really, the state of our existence will really cause you to think, just okay, what am I doing?
Yes.
And how is what I'm doing connected to the world? And what are the ways that I can reorient or reorganize my life around freedom in a way that would be that would have implications an ocean away, and it forces you to like push yourself to like really and then to find the purpose in these mundane moments. There's this faith that by telling the truth, somebody else might be moved further to truth. Truth has a larger, a stronger hold on the universe.
Yes.
And in that truth, there can be freedom. In that truth, there can be justice. In that truth, there can be movement. And yeah, I think it's, um, uh, damn, I can't remember this. I'm having so many thoughts and quotes, and then I can't remember the name of the person, and I'm just like, damn, sounds like I made it up. Because it sounds like in mine now because I can't remember.
It's yours now. It's yours.
Yeah, but there's so much love in um, that sort of like faith that that the faith that there's so much to do, and I can't do everything, but I can do what I can.
Yes.
And I have faith that there are others doing what they can as well.
Yes.
And that each one of our movements, each one of our attempts to take care of ourselves, to be honest in our work, is just is a little light, a piece of the light, and that all of these people with these pieces of the light are just like beacons for the future that we want to see, so that it can find us. It becomes brighter in that way, and that poem itself it had a lot of different uh, titles, but one of the first titles was Initial Singularity. And it was just kind of like, this is the Big Bang. The world exists because we're at happy hour right now.
That's how it feels. Literally, that's how it feels.
It does.
To experience that poem. 100%.
It's yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
I'm gonna stop myself. I'm a yapper. So
no, this has been absolutely fantastic. We have just the final bell to ring. To wrap such an incredible conversation with you, and Glenn will take us out.
Yeah. So Solaris, if you remember, we have this exercise that we do at all of our releases where everybody gets this conversation card and they're able to come up on stage and have this exchange with each other.
Yeah.
So we have 100 questions related to friendship, and I want you to pick a number between 1 and 100.
Ooh, let's get 74.
74 is... Have you ever made a lifelong friend unexpectedly?
I think I've made many friends unexpectedly. I hope will be in my life for a very long time. I've made friends unexpectedly that are no longer in my life that I thought were going to be there for a lifetime, but they were there for that lifetime. Um, and and in the many lives that yeah, so I feel like in that way it definitely was. Oh, I have an connection issues. I think I froze. Are we back?
Oh,
Did I
yes, you
freeze?
froze
Did I
right
freeze?
at. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What was the
Yes.
last
I thought it
thing?
was
back.
just me, so I was just like,
I know. I was
sure.
like standing still.
Oh
I was-
yeah.
What's happening?
Yeah, no, I think my internet just freaked out for a second. What was the last thing that what was it? What was it yet?
Last thing
I-
was
yeah.
you. Yep. Go ahead. Gee, it was.
Yeah,
it
I heard
was,
you
you've
say,
made.
you made friends unexpectedly
Yes.
that you thought would last long, but that
Yes,
didn't.
but didn't.
Yes, but didn't. But they lasted for those lifetimes. And I think that there's there's been a lot of love in that, and I feel like a lot of those friendships, the unexpected thing was that I was looking, it's like I was looking for love. I was looking for friendship. It's just as I was looking for it, it was coming from over here. Right. I was looking for it and it was looking for me at the same time. And that was the unexpected thing. Is that I remember going to I think what was it, seventh grade? I think it's seventh grade. I went into a Bible study because I had a crush on somebody, and and I was just kind of like, and I was just like, I don't know what we're doing here, but this person here, so I'm gonna be here too. Let's see what's happening. And one of my best friends for like 10, 12 years was there. And I was not looking for him. I was not like checking for him in that way. But he showed up and he saw me and held me, and that was a friendship that really carried me through a lot of my high school and college years. And again, giving props to relationships that don't last. That the we began to expand and fly in different directions, and the spaces, the friendships that friendship specifically could not hold me in my expansiveness. Um, who the person who could see me at one point, um, their view remained a little bit limited to that space. So as I began to grow and evolve and change beyond the scope of their view, I realized I could not keep myself in that space. So that I was really, really surprised by that friendship, and the implications are lifelong. So was there for a lifetime, for that lifetime, and then has taught me so much about love, has taught me so much about what it means to like really feel seen and be held, what it feels like to have someone be curious and not afraid of your becoming, and that has that has that has really, really prepared me for a lot of the love that I've been able to experience now in my life. So that was that was definitely unexpected. Because I cannot think of one now, a friendship that was not unexpected. Um, all of
they
them,
kind of
That's
all are
fair.
in the
That
way.
is true. Yeah, exactly.
They all are.
yeah, they're
You
all
can't plan.
surprises, and I think it's as somebody who's like a lover girl at heart, who like really is looking for love and is looking for connection, and unabashedly so. I'm just like out there, and I'm like looking for these connection, and also being very creative. I have told so many love stories in my mind. I've made up so many connections, all these things, and I'm just like, the universe knows that the only way I'm gonna be satisfied is if it gives me something I couldn't come up with. Because because I'm just like, if I could come up with it, then that's And then that's me and my therapist working on that. But it's like I feel like there is there's something about the surprise that is so integral to that friendship being lifelong, and I think it has to do with the ways that we are taught to hide, and the million ways that there are to hide. Sometimes you need somebody that's gonna like come at you from a direction that you don't have your guard up in a specific way.
Absolutely. Solaris, this has been an insanely powerful Wednesday conversation.
This has been a
so
wild
inspired.
30 minutes.
A wild 30 minutes.
We really time dilation. We stretching.
We did. We stretched in this
moment.
moment. We stretched it, and we can't thank you enough. Listeners are in for an absolute treat with this one.
Yes. Thank you all so much. Thank you for being so generous with not only your platform, but with your brilliance. There is so much of what I share today in my practice and the way that I'm engaging with writing that y'all's offerings have shaped, even in the short time that I've known y'all. And that is such a blessing. And I don't take that for granted. I am really, really grateful for that. And I hope that you all are feeling that love, because I know that I'm one of many. I'm really, really one of many. So I hope that it returns to you in so many different ways, as I'm sure that it will. Because y'all are doing something really, really special here. Incredibly special. I feel honored to be a part.
Oh,
thank you, Solaris. You're stuck with us. You stuck with us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
It is.
Thank you.
I love it.